Welcome to 5 Stripe Weekly, everyone. AJ is back, and we are gonna get his take on everything that's gone down since he's been gone. Plus, it's our first home match week of 2019, and we look to rectify that 3-1 defeat away to Herediano. All that and more, coming up.
Welcome to the show, 5 Stripe fam. I'm AJ, this is Tanner McLeod. Before we get into it, become a member of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube or hop over from Facebook and subscribe. Guys, it is absolutely wonderful to be back. I had a wonderful time in Spain. And
the shocker
boys,
there. Wonderful time in Spain.
Wonderful time in Spain, and yeah, the boys held it down. You will see what happened in Spain on this channel. I've vlogged the entire thing to probably everybody else who was on the trip's dismay, but it definitely happened. But you know, you guys did a just outstanding job. Who didn't do an outstanding job was the team itself. Yeah. Atlanta United, they just laid an egg a little bit.
It was bad.
Not an actual egg, because they did get that away goal, so there is that positive.
How much are you actually able to like watch of it when it happened live? Because it was really late.
Nothing. They blacked it out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
because
of
region.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that was fun. So I watched the replay.
Oh,
and,
that had to be a whole lot of fun. Going back, watching it, knowing what happens.
Yeah. No, I was awake during all of the match though. Like essentially, you know, I woke up in a haste. Maybe I knew something was wrong, but and then I started seeing all the updates because Twitter works worldwide.
I was pretty active on Twitter that evening. It was not an enjoyable it was not an enjoyable experience. Devin and I, as you guys have probably already seen, did a match review and we dug into a lot of it. But unfortunately, of course, you were gone, so we could not get your, let's say, feelings about what happened. So, you know, first thought, kind of formation, we kind of talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
That's weird, and I feel like that's kind of a good starting point because me and Dev got 10 out of 11 starters, Bello being the one we didn't, and everything went to crap pretty quickly. Yeah,
I mean, I think, yeah, Bello, for me, I think when you see it in the Instagram posts, I thought Shea was going to start because, you know, he's got a little bit more experience in bigger competitions. This was maybe too big of a moment for Bello, who is, yes, very talented, but when you throw him into the fire like this, against a kind of just well-oiled machine. I think Herediano was playing a 4-4-2 type of shape where they knew how to take advantage, and they clearly did their homework on us because they attacked Bello's side, definitely. They attacked through the middle. So our formation, 3-4-3, is just
Was there an actual shape there?
I don't know if there actually was because, yeah, when you have Robinson in the middle as that sweeper, not doing sweeper things, and you have Parkhurst having to rely on pace or having to, you know...
Hope that Robinson's covering him, which he never actually was?
Yes, and, you know, LGP, a little bit of a brain fart, as Devin Lowell loves to say, and it happened to show up, and I think... This happens very early on in seasons as well. I think we have seen at Houston last year and, you know, in 2017. It happens. He usually susses it all out. But, and then I think just too defensive in midfield. Lorenowitz and Remedi just pretty much playing each other's roles like to a degree where Nagbe's role is being played by Remedi. And not having Nagbe himself, you know, that whole debacle, that's just weird. Lorenowitz having to, you know, kind of do Remedi things and kind of press the ball and kind of vacate the middle where he is the best at just sitting in that space.
And covering, you know, the space that was there for that second goal where there was just like...
so maddening.
There was just, if you've seen the still shot of it, Robinson is outside of and further ahead than LGP, who is also closing the ball down.
Right.
Parkhurst is over on the right having no idea what's happening. There is acres of space in the middle where the midfielder and whoever's there is just like, oh, I'm just
gonna stroll right through.
And then, you know, Lorenowitz is not there because he's trying to do something he's not accustomed to. And then God knows where Bello and Gressel were with the wingbacks because the ball's in our own half and there's no one there. I think, honestly, this can just be attributed to players being put in positions they're not used to. And you could just sense just a lack of like dynamism or energy that usually you see from us when we go out and play teams. It was missing from the get-go.
Yeah, indeed. And that lack of urgency, I think, led to just being bamboozled very early on. And when, I mean, I think you kind of have to put a little bit of that blame, or a lot of blame, on Frank de Boer and how he set it up in terms of formation and how he got the boys ready for the match. I mean, I think we saw this in preseason a little bit, where yes, we really beat up on teams that maybe weren't ready, but once we started playing teams that were a little bit in more form, it started to look to where, yeah, I mean, it didn't look fantastic against LAFC where they just waltzed right in, which is essentially what happened here. They just kind of were able to walk right through our right side, essentially. I think it was Vela, that walked right through us. I mean, that's indicative, and
it looked kind of like the first goal in a sense. It was just like, what is happening right now?
and then when you have, I think it's that what we have to put as the caveat is that yes, this is the first match. Frank de Boer and the whole new kind of system that he's kind of brought in a little bit, because we weren't playing a 3-4-3. We weren't playing with Miles Robinson as a sweeper. Parkhurst is not a right center back, but he is being played there. It's essentially a new system, and Bello even as well. I mean, there's just a lot of growing pains I feel like we'll have to kind of go through. Unfortunately, it is our first match of the season that we have to go through this growing pain. Hopefully we can rectify that. But that one caveat with the Gressel goal, with the PT, just a brilliant ball to Gressel to be able to allow Gressel to cut in on his left. Really, really nice move. But yes, it is a deflected goal, but a goal nonetheless for Gressel. I think that's huge, massive goal, because it allows us to stay within this series. But I'm still worried about it. I mean, it's gonna be a very, very tough second leg, because Herediano are going to sit. That's for sure.
So for me, I guess, I think we're going to dig a little bit more into Frank de Boer here in a bit with some of his post-match quotes and everything. But for me, kind of listening to you there, do you think, and there's a fine line between the two, was Frank de Boer overconfident or arrogant going into this game? Because for me, when you look at, say, the loss last season to Houston, there were actually some signs in there. We kind of got,
some square peg round holes.
But Miguel Almiron missed a penalty. We had some chances that were a lot better than what we had. There were some kind of forced changes, but we were still playing obviously within a system we kind of understood. But there was some more from that where it was like, yeah, it's frustrating, but I see what we were trying to do. There's some better positives to really hang on to from that game last year, even though scoreline, it was worse. This one, it's kind of hard to pull positives in a lot of ways out of it, because we were bad everywhere. And outside of a few P.D. Martinez runs, there wasn't much. So was he arrogant, overconfident?
Yeah, I wouldn't say this much, but I mean, if you want to kind of compare the two situations, I mean, last season in 2018, our preseason did not look all that good. We went against some very poor opposition, and I think it showed in that Houston Dynamo match. And I mean, a lot of people kind of say, I think Tata Martino is a stubborn guy as well, so it's not really that new for Tata Martino, but also for Frank de Boer. They are kind of similar in that respect. They will be stubborn. I think Tata Martino has learned throughout the 2018 season that yes, I have to change things. Otherwise, if I don't make MLS work, then there will be huge ramifications. I won't be able to get the next job if I do want to get another one. And so I think Frank de Boer, it may come to that as well, where you might have to do that.
It was just like, in that Houston game, though, yeah, there were some square pegs and round holes, but like Chris McCann in midfield made no sense. But I feel like with this one, it was, you were playing players in positions they don't play. Like, yeah, even more square peg round hole. Like, you know Parkhurst cannot play that position. Well, Robinson has never played this, and he has to stay tactically disciplined, which he hasn't shown the ability to do before. George Bello is 17. I mean, you are playing no legs in the middle of the field, and you're asking two players who don't do a job in bringing the ball forward and connecting the midfield. Both of them are sitting players. Neither one of them has ever been asked to do that. Right. So it's not like you're asking a couple players in here and it just happens and it breaks apart. You were asking numerous players to play in roles and positions and to do things they do not do.
Sure, and yeah, it's, you know, talking about a Miles Robinson as a sweeper, the job of a sweeper normally is to sit in that spot, not to go beyond the two center backs that are on either side of him. And so that's a worrying part when you have a guy who's great at reading the game, great at shepherding his players into the right spots in Parkhurst, and then, you know, so having to rely on his pace when Miles Robinson could probably do that job on the right, and he has proven that. But yes, he looked good in preseason for that one match where he played it simple and whatnot, but it is a different match when you have a team that is just, they are well drilled, they are in season form, even if they're in poor form. They obviously knew what to do against us. And then also when you have Robinson and LGP and Bello, I mean, LGP is known to want to just you know, go forward at a whim.
But he can do that because he knows Parkhurst is sitting behind him, which
someone's
is like,
gonna cover.
You know what you. That's the thing for me when I look back on this match. You just, you know, I touched on it some, but having let it, you know, simmer for a few days, that just frustrates the hell out of me. Is that, again, last year was our second season, and you can kind of understand some of those mistakes in this game. Frank de Boer has 2 years of footage in an MLS Cup winning side where he sees exactly, these are what these players are good at. This is what they can do, and also has footage of, this is what they can't do. Sure. So why would you change something and move players into positions where you've played a back three with Robinson on the right, Parkhurst in the middle, LGP on the left? It works. Why change it?
Yeah, but also that, it's Lorenowitz being told to press the ball.
He's not fast. He doesn't have pace.
Exactly. So going against what he's good at, which is to sit in that hole. And then, so we basically had the entire middle, like we were saying on the second goal, they were able to waltz right in, when normally if you have the guys that just sit, Parkhurst,
you have Parkhurst and Lorenowitz both there. There's a double door. They can't get through it. And my thing again is, Parkhurst hasn't really played in that position, but Lorenowitz has, and Lorenowitz is probably quicker than Parkhurst. So why would you play someone even slower in a position where, historically speaking, you have gotten torn apart when you play too far open? Like, that's the thing for me that, like, just frustrates the hell out of me, is that Frank de Boer should have known better. I get that it's the first game, I get that it's away, I get that it's a crap pitch, I get that it's a crap referee, you have all of these things, but it's like, you know what these players can do. Why are you trying to make them do something and putting them in position just for the hell of it? Like, just for the hell of it. You have a captain, like you said, perfect in the middle. You have Robinson, athletic, quick, maybe not the best positionally, but he's able to close players down and play in that space and be fine, especially when he has someone like Parkhurst telling him where to go. LGP is a crazy man. We love him for it, but he's able to be a crazy man, and a lot of the stuff he did in that game, he does all the time. But he gets away with it because Parkhurst is there behind him, and he has Lorenowitz to his right. And he also has Remedi running around closing any space around him. But both of them are preoccupied trying to press the ball. Yeah,
and then, they were probably trapping that ball over there, but then you know, talking about the first goal, Bello with just kind of poor control, and LGP with a just blind header back to Guzan. I mean, there might be some people, you know, trying to fault Guzan here, but I think he was just in a rock and a hard place.
I mean, he was absolutely sold to see there by LGP. I don't know what he was trying to do, but that is an opening game goal that I can understand and allow. I can allow when you have these misunderstandings that happen in the first game. My biggest issue is that, again, putting players in roles that they're not going to succeed in, expecting them to do well in the first game, away from home, in a game where it's not like MLS. It's not 3 points, 1 point. The goals, all of them matter. And now you've dug yourself into a hole where you're going to have to get out of it. You're not playing at your home stadium where I think everyone would feel a hell of a lot more. Like, if this was going to the bins, now I have no doubt that Kennesaw will be good, and we'll get into that in the match preview later. If this was going to the bins, I would have full faith that we would win this game.
I'll be a whole lot more bullish for sure.
But now I'm just like, I don't know if he's going to change or not. And it's just like, I don't understand what he was trying to do. And I guess that's the biggest sticking point for me, is that with Tata, in Houston, I kind of got it. It just didn't work. It happened. I understood what was going, like what was happening, and I understood we were going to move forward from that. With this one, it's just the first game. I don't want to overreact on it, but I don't understand a lot of the decisions he made in playing the way that we did. For playing a defensive system, we got housed.
Especially when Parkhurst is saying during and after training sessions that, yes, we were practicing a lot of defensive schemes and shapes and whatnot, and then our third goal was a set piece that we allowed a goal on.
You practice against Joseph Martinez and PT Martinez. No one's going to have better players than that the entire season we play against them.
Yeah.
How are you getting picked apart by these guys if this is what you're going against in training?
It is kind of true, but I think we still, you know, we need to kind of really be patient because, yes, that's really what Frank de Boer has not been afforded at the two other places recently that he's been at. And so, I mean, theoretically, this should be a situation that should be more catered to him. And so let's give him that time. But I mean, I think that's what it is. We're still going to be critical when it's a bad performance, but I think it's, yeah, we'll leave it as is for what it is because, well, I mean, Frank de Boer is positive about what's coming ahead for Thursday. But yeah, he mentioned essentially that, yeah, this is our first game and we have to improve. We're going to try to improve every day, so this is just the first step and are going to make a lot of steps forward. I'm confident in that. And hopefully by next Thursday, we have time to get our revenge and show everyone that we've learned from this experience and are better for it. He went on to say, quote, 3-1 is a good result for Herediano, but I have confidence also that we can score 2 goals at home. It's more difficult now, but we know we can play back at our stadium. And if we play well, we can still move on to the next round.
First off, not our stadium because of monster trucks, but we won't dive into that because I've already ranted about that a few months back. But I mean, yeah, so we do have the away goal.
Yes.
He touches on improving and learning. That also includes putting players in their right positions and not being stubborn and looking at something that doesn't work.
Well, we don't know if he's you know, going to be stubborn or going to learn from that yet.
He's going to be stubborn. From previous experience with Dutch managers, i.e. his mentor.
Indeed. But so, you know, I think though, Frank de Boer, you know, by all accounts so far has a positive mindset in that regard, and he wasn't making excuses.
That's fair.
That's good.
That's good. And again, I don't want to seem overly critical. I'm just really frustrated because it was just so stupid. And again, maybe I'm just getting caught up in the fact that it was just so CONCACAF that I couldn't understand the CONCACAFing that was CONCACAF. And
it was more CONCACAF-y than normal CONCACAF.
Yeah, I thought I had prepared myself for the CONCACAFing that was going to happen.
Sure.
But like the American Red Cross disaster relief running on twice to pick someone up, guys falling down to the floor when no one touched them at all, guys having cramps that suddenly disappear as soon as the whistle's blown. Right. Yeah, a referee who apparently reffed a World Cup final but doesn't know what a foul is and what's not. I mean, LGP just absolutely shoulder barged a guy and got nothing for it. I mean, I don't know what else you have to look at. It was just so CONCACAF that I think maybe on the whole, the stupidity of it's just what frustrated them.
And it's also this, Herediano are good at home and they know how to play on that pitch, which is like pretty much like 1960s Astrodome
on
turf. Yeah, and so the pitch wasn't really conducive to the way LA United play, but I think also LA United should have been ready for that a little bit more. But it's hard to find a pitch like that, maybe unless it's like Silverback Stadium, I guess, maybe to
well, I guess
practice.
If they you know, ever draw a team like that again, just, well, they probably won't let them practice there.
No, they won't.
You know.
There's contention.
Yeah, there's
there.
some contention.
So anyway, let's move on to something a little bit more positive.
What? Let's, because I don't want to dwell on that anymore.
Yeah, but Miguel Miron made his starting debut for Newcastle United, and what a debut he had. First off, with the tifo that the Toon Army gave him, the Quiero Cantar Contigo, and that's Almiron Quiero Cantar Contigo, and then with We Are United as the actual tifo part. I mean, that was a very nice touch, and I think he probably saw that. He was already up for the game probably already. He was killing the opposition.
If that chip had gone in, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah, he had a counterattack of dreams.
Basically something all of us have seen many times, even up to the chipping part. I mean, he's chipped people before.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, it an unlucky series of events. Hit the post twice, I think.
Hit the post 4 times. Newcastle as a team that game.
Yeah.
Oh.
They had, I think, 29 shots that match. I mean, yes, Huddersfield they're
awful. Dreadful. They're going to finish last. They will be relegated.
And it was against 10 men, but
to be fair, he drew the red card, and if you see stills on it, the fact that he's not injured for the rest of the season is incredible. So yeah, that was a terrible tackle. But I mean, he was incredible. He was exactly what they were crying out for. And I think right now they're looking at it going, yeah, we made a good deal. Probably could have been a bit more money because, I mean, 6 clear chances he created that game. I mean,
he had 4 shots,
passes, 5 crosses. He completed both of his dribbles. I mean, he was even recovering. He had 3 recoveries. What else do you want from the guy? He is exactly what he does.
Right, and you know, making a Jose Perez look kind of good,
which is very hard to do.
Yeah, he missed some sitters. It is what it is. But he did end up getting the second goal for them, and also maybe that little kind of Paraguayan Venezuelan connection building up there as well with Salman Rondon.
That guy's a unit for what it's worth.
Yeah, he
is.
He is.
Big lad.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, a very talented guy, I think, as well. And you know, kind of hopefully more goals for him with Miguel Almiron feeding that ball to him. But I think, you know, all this as well, he came off to a standing ovation in the 81st minute. So fantastic first start for
given man of the match by the Chronicle, which is the newspaper there in Newcastle that covers them very closely. So not a bad full debut for former 5-stripe Miguel Almiron.
Exactly, and I think it's a good thing for Atlanta United as well. And why we're talking about this is because it represents the 5 stripes very well, because you know, a player coming from Atlanta, from MLS, doing well in
the hardest league in the world.
Yeah, in the hardest league in the world, and looking like probably the best player.
He was the best player on the pitch. The speed
good.
of the game was. Again,
it wasn't a worry.
There wasn't a worry. I mean, he's one of the quickest players in the league. He looked at home there. I'm curious to see how he'll perform in some of those bigger, tougher games against some top 6 opposition.
Yeah.
But I think with him and having seen that, not to base too much off one game, but with the squad they have, the manager they have, I think the Newcastle are going to be all right, and I think that Miguel Almiron will basically kind of be that spark that helps them be solidly safe in the Premier League moving forward.
Yeah, it was a great 3 points for them, and then you have the Burnley match, which is going to be a very, very difficult match, and that's really, I think, one of those barometers, because Burnley are doing well this year.
Yes,
so
they beat Tottenham, so that made me feel good.
Yeah. And so let's move on into a sort of rumor, not really, kind of quashing the rumors now with Darlington Nagbe and essentially his situation, which, I mean, yeah, he pretty much is saying that, yes, you know, the problems and issues that I had in preseason, they're gone. It's not a big deal anymore. I want to stay in Atlanta. That's a good thing.
It's a good thing, especially after watching, you know, a complete lack of being able to control the ball and move forward in midfield against Herediano.
Yeah, he came on, it was better.
He needs to play in midfield for Atlanta United if we want to be successful.
We looked disjointed. There wasn't a connection between the defense and the attack, and once Nagbe came on, it looked a lot better. Now, if I think he has a run of form where he actually plays, I think it will look even better, and so.
He's got that forward-thinking brain for a midfielder, where it's not a slight on Remedi or Lorenowitz. They're very good in that defensive role, being able to close down the spaces, sweep things up. But Nagbe wants to get forward. His brain is thinking, how can I get this to these players like a PC Martinez, a Joseph Martinez, a Ezequiel Barco, whoever it is. He's that link between midfield and attack.
Right.
And I think you can definitely tell when he's missing, at least in how this team's set up in that first leg. So hopefully, and we'll dig into this later, he might be starting for us come Thursday.
Hopefully. But yeah, he mentioned that his personal issues that he had previously encountered at a Portland Timbers is also was maybe a reason why it occurred in Atlanta, why he had to show up to preseason 1 day late, all that. I mean, I don't want to speculate too hard, but I think there is some constants And I think maybe it's a kind of situation
Probably
with
family, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, for us, we should respect his privacy.
Yeah.
And again, he's very happy here. He loves it here. I hope he stays here past his current contract. I hope we get him signed up again because he's a very good player, and I think he is a key player for the Five Stripes moving forward.
Right, indeed. And so next bit of news is that former goalkeeper for Atlanta United, who was released in the offseason, Mitch Hildebrand, has retired. Yeah, he didn't really get any first team starts. He, I think, got 8 starts for Atlanta United 2. And yeah, he's pretty much called it a career.
Hung up the gloves and the boots.
Right, got a chip on the way out, so not too bad. Got a chip with FC Cincinnati as well in USL, so
not a bad last 2 seasons.
Exactly.
All the best to him moving forward into his future career, whatever that may be.
Indeed. But let's get to the mailbag questions. You guys send in these questions through IG story. Please continue to do so, and we might answer your question in the future. First question comes from The Real Ryan. Would it be a blessing in disguise if we got bounced from the CCL?
No. My point, I think for me, I want to win this damn thing, and that first match might have been terrible. But as frustrated as I've clearly been, you have to believe that this team can turn this around. You have to believe that the talent is there, both from the staff and from the players, that the team that just won MLS Cup pretty convincingly can turn it around and beat a team that's currently languishing near the bottom of the Costa Rican table and get things to that next round where we know we'll be playing at the bins for at least one of those games. And I think if we can get there, we can keep moving on, because that is the goal, because no MLS teams won that. And if we want to beat that team, we have to win the CONCACAF Champions League. So I want to win that thing. I want to beat Herediano this week. We'll see if it can happen.
Right. And especially, yeah, I mean, if it's like it's just not a good optics look if we get bounced this early. Like this
to Herediano in the fashion that it would happen. It would be really embarrassing.
Yeah, it's not something that we want. So next question comes from Omar1386. What's next if we were to lose this week? What would be the next trophy to shoot for? Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's definitely, we want to stay in this competition, one. And then if it were this nightmare scenario, then you go for MLS Cup.
It just turns into what it was last season. Yeah. Although you might think about putting a little bit more emphasis on the US Open Cup just to get something if you could. Sure. But I don't want to think about being out of this competition. It would really, really frustrate me if we were to fall out to this side. That's no disrespect to Herediano. They're a quality team, but they're not playing well in their domestic league right now. And the talent that Atlanta United has far outweighs the talent that Herediano has. And there is no reason that this team should be losing to this, this opposition at this round of the competition.
Right. It's a classic thing of one side's more organized than the other. And yeah, we're just running into that problem because we're not in form at all. It's our first game. It's a lot of things. Yeah. Next question comes from It's Justin Johnson. Why has Asiedu yet to sign with the club, and can he be signed after the March 1st deadline?
I'm gonna actually throw this one to you because
okay, sure.
I kind of understand it, but I think you have a little bit of a better grasp on things than I do.
Sure, yeah, and so Asiedu and Amir Bashti and Dylan Castanera, the goalkeeper that we all drafted, they pretty much are kind of mostly on trial still, and so we'll wonder if they're maybe being kind of more groomed for Atlanta United 2. So if there is that worry, we have the draft rights to these guys anyway, and so we can sign them pretty much at any point. They're almost essentially free agents to that degree.
But they can't sign with any other MLS club.
Right, exactly. And so it's really not a worry about when they're going to sign unless we really need them for some certain matches coming up. But, I mean, I think we've seen that they've been part of the first team. I think it's just a matter of getting the, T's and I's just crossed and dotted. So, it's I don't think they're quite ready at that level anyway to be starting. So they're more of that depth level. So I think they're probably trying to see more of these guys and trying to make that decision. So next question comes from Aiden Mogengard. Thank you for that. And apologies if I've messed that name up. But should Atlanta United be looking for a legit replacement for Brad Guzan now?
I think he's still fine for MLS. He's never going to be that perfect keeper that can play out of the back, but you're never going to really get one in MLS where MLS is at this point in time, because if they're really good at that, they're not going to be here.
Yeah.
He definitely has some moments that frustrate me, but again, you're going to get that at this level, and in terms of where he's at the top table in terms of MLS goalkeepers. Yeah. He's still a great shot saver. He's a strong presence at the back, and I don't know if you're going to find anyone that's going to be better than him for what you have him at. I mean, he is, you know, not to beat a dead horse, he's still one of the best goalkeepers in MLS. He's still a U.S. men's international. You're not going to get much better. He is getting a little bit older, but I still think you have a few more seasons with him. And then, you know, it's not a bad idea to be looking for someone to possibly groom to take over for him. But as of right now, Brad Guzan is the least of your worries in terms of needing a replacement.
Yeah, I think if you are thinking he was at fault for any of the goals against Herediano, I mean, it's the defense's fault, really. I mean, you can't really chalk it to anything that really Brad Guzan did.
He did as well as he could on the first. The second, no chance. The third, not his fault either. I mean, beating on a set piece at the back post is not the keeper's fault.
Exactly.
Like, that's not gonna, no.
No. So, last question comes from YouTube with Sean Garrity. Sup, guys? Just wanted to get your thoughts on something to do with celebrations. So we've seen the fusion celebration between Joseph and Almiron, which I'm a huge fan of. Grew up watching DBZ myself. With Almiron now being at Newcastle United, what would your feelings be if Almiron started to do the fusion celebration with one of our players like Rondon or Perez, if they had created such a partnership like he had with Joseph?
Should you tell him it's not going to happen, or should I?
Yeah, no, it's going to be very weird if that happens, but no, not fam. Sorry.
It's not that we're being mean, but like, again, him and Joseph are like brothers. Yeah. Like, and maybe him and Rondon get on well, but I don't see him having that relationship that him and Joseph Martinez had. That was something special both on and off the field. They were as close as they got, which is why for them the fusion made sense. And I don't want to dig too far into Dragon Ball Z, but I mean, that was kind of the whole point of the fusion in that show as well, is, you know, Trunks and Goten, really, really, really close friends. That's why it all worked, so yeah.
Yeah, and no, I mean, they might come up with their own celebration, and that'll be good for them.
I hope they do. I hope they have something unique that represents what they have.
Right.
But fusion, that's a Joseph and a Miggy thing, and a Joseph and a Miggy thing only.
Yeah, and I think Miggy started it too, so I don't think Miggy's gonna kind of, you know, stab him in the front like that and do that.
That'd be kind of rude.
Yeah, but that pretty much sums up our mailbag, and so let's move on to the match preview, and that's the second leg against Herediano on Thursday, February the 28th, and it's going to be at Fifth Third Bank Stadium in Kennesaw, which can maybe hold 10,000 because we're going to pack it out. Usually holds about 7 or 8. And
whatever the record is for that stadium, we're probably going to break it.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, you can stream it, you know, on Yahoo and maybe BN. We'll see what it is.
Maybe be on, I don't know. I know it'll be on Yahoo.
It's always, it's definitely going to be on Yahoo. But and maybe Univision again for the Spanish-speaking crowd. But let's just make sure first, like, you know, who's going to be in in terms of not injured for this match. I mean, we have, I think, you know, a Franco Escobar that is still, we don't know. I think he's getting pretty much kind of healthier around this time frame. That I think it was maybe 5 to 7 weeks, I think, was his time frame when he got injured.
To be fair, Barco was supposed to be out a while as well. He's fine.
Right, exactly. But it was a different injury. That was a muscular versus a broken bone, I think. So, yeah. So he might be ready, and that might be good. And then Kevin Kratz, there's a rumor going on. It's a kind of unsubstantiated rumor that he's had his 3rd kid. That's cool.
Congrats
if he did.
That's the case.
But he was unavailable for that match. You know, that might have been good to bring him on for a set piece and, you know, try to pull back another goal. But Yeah, hopefully he's ready for this match, and hopefully he can be part of the 18 if that were the case. And again, I think still Amir Bashti, Anderson Osiedu, and Dylan Castanera are still on trial, so
they're not registered, they're not signed, so they won't be playing.
Exactly. But
those are 3 you can guarantee will not be playing. The other 2.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully they can play a part, because I think we will need all hands on deck to defeat this very tough Herediano team, which, like we mentioned before, they just tore up our middle. So let's get into our predicted 11 and how we would maybe shore up with not only the formation, but also the tactics. What do you think?
For me, I really hope he changes, but there's a difference between me hoping he changes and him actually changing. If we do go with the back 3 again, I pray to whatever gods exist that he puts Michael Parkhurst back in the middle. All of the gods, just please put Michael Parkhurst just back in the middle. He belongs there. He needs to be there. If he's not there, LGP will be worse and he will be worse. It's kind of one of those like exponential type things where if he's not there, it's not good for anyone. So I'm hoping that Michael Parkhurst is back in the middle. Whether or not he actually does that will kind of be interesting. But I also think LGP will start. But for me, the question mark would be, if he does play Parkhurst in the middle, who starts on the right side of a back 3?
Yeah, for me, I've swapped them. I have Parkhurst in that sweeper position. I have Robinson as that right center back. I was tempted to keep Remedi in and Nagbe out, but I think he is so imperative here that it has to be Nagbe and Lorenowitz as that double pivot. Or kind of
a double pivot.
It's not really a double pivot here. It's the center midfield.
I just don't like 3-4-3. I just don't like 3-4-3. There's just something about it that just, I don't like that it leaves you so light in the middle of the park, because you're playing 3 forwards.
And that's why you need someone like Nagbe to be able to connect that defense and attack. But it also leaves you a little bit susceptible in the middle as well.
Which is why Remedi could be a good option, because he's going to cover more ground than Lorenowitz will.
Yes. It's tough. It's very, very tough. I have Lorenowitz. You have Remedi.
I have Remedi.
Right? So, and of course, in this 3-4-3, we have wingbacks. I think it's still Gressel on the right. But for me, I have Brekshay coming in. Just, it's a bigger moment. I think you need to have a little bit more of an experienced head here. And it's not Bello's fault at any point of this. I think it's maybe too big of a moment for him.
I would like to think that that will happen, but part of me just sees Frank de Boer being stubborn and going, no, Bello, you're going to learn from this, and trotting him back out there saying, I believe in you, and putting him in a situation which kind of doubles down and might not be good, because if he's poor again, it's really bad, but saying, I have faith in you to go do a job, and we also need goals. So, I'd feel a lot more comfortable with Bello playing on the left if Parkhurst is in the middle of the back 3, because I know that positionally they're going to be a little bit better, and if it's Remedi and Nagbe in midfield, I know that Remedi has the ability to cover him.
Right.
When Remedi's being tasked with bringing the ball forward, that's not going to happen because he can't cover him.
Right.
So it makes a little bit more sense if that's the personnel you're playing, but also because I think he wants to show that he believes in this kid, and maybe pulling him out after that game might damage his confidence even more.
It very well could be the case.
He's stubborn.
Yeah, but also going back over to the right side, Robinson, if he's left on an island like Parkhurst is, I think at least Robinson has the pace to be able to recover that. And that's where it was awkward for Gressel, because, Gressel had to kind of make a decision. Either he was really, staying back because of just the wing play that was happening, or he has to kind of bomb forward, and he was probably caught in between two minds. And on his side, yes, he scored the goal, but it was difficult for him to try to really make his decisions on what he had to do, and it's tough. It's very, very tough.
Comes back to me questioning what he was doing, putting these players in positions, because by putting these players in positions that they aren't comfortable with, it affects the whole bloody team.
It does.
I mean, when you can't, when your defense is not solid, it affects a guy in Gressel who we know is a very good wingback and can do it because we've seen it happen.
But very good going forward.
But he suffers because now he's having to think about defending, which is not what his natural inclination is to do, because he's having to think about the person behind him not being quick and having to defend. When he's having to do that, he's not going to be as effective going forward.
Right.
So it's just this domino effect of me just looking at that lineup when you go back, and again, hindsight is 2020, and thinking, what were we thinking? And I think the one place where you don't really have to think is probably going to be your front three.
Yeah.
I still think it's going to be Pity Martinez, Joseph Martinez, and Ezequiel Barco. Ezequiel Barco frustrated the hell out of me, and I'm probably not the only one in that game, but I still think that he is going to be, he's the player that fits the mold of what Frank de Boer wants more than what Tito Villalba offers. I think Tito is much more of a direct player that's going to run at you and make something happen, whereas Ezequiel Barco is the kind of guy that will be able to play those short passing games if he actually passes the ball.
Yeah, and that was kind of the issue as well, was that Barco and PT, they were pretty much having to really dribble and beat a guy versus more of kind of a combination play and kind of getting more of the maybe the midfield involved and whatnot. It was pretty much like solo, sweaty, type of play where you're trying to score a goal by yourself or trying to beat the whole entire team by yourself, and it's just not exactly conducive in that type of environment for the first game.
He could learn something from PT Martinez, who does the same thing, but also knows, okay, I've beaten these guys, time to get rid of the ball because I'm about to get clattered. So
indeed.
Maybe he can learn that. Learn from that.
Indeed. And I mean, I think with that, with the lineup being 3-4-3, I think we have to really push the issue. We have to think about really controlling the ball and breaking them down on a deep block, because that's really probably what's going to happen.
And be prepared for ultimate shithousery.
Yes.
Because that is guaranteed to happen.
Yeah.
But there is kind of a silver lining to this, but honestly, it's not one that I really buy into.
Yeah.
And Herediano have a history of blowing leads in this competition.
Indeed. And I mean, De Boer and Gressel were very quick to mention that after the match, that they Herediano beat Club America 3-0 in their first leg last year in CCL, and then they lost 6-0 in the return leg. That bodes well.
Yes.
Bodes definitely very well.
Problems with that, though, is that Club America were also in full swing of their season, so it wasn't their second game. Also, the second leg was played in Mexico City, in one of the toughest places to play in the world, in the Estadio Azteca. Yeah. Not Fifth Third Bank Stadium, because you're being kicked out of your home by monster trucks.
Yeah, 87,000 versus 10,000.
Elevation of what exactly is Mexico City? 5,000 something versus Atlanta, Georgia, which is like not very high.
Yeah.
So there's multiple factors, and so as much as that is a nice statistic, I'm not sure if it really is relevant to Atlanta United's current predicament.
It might not be, but let's get into our score prediction. So let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Atlanta United to win, but not by enough. I think Atlanta United will win 2-1. I think Herediano will get one, but I think unfortunately, because it is so soon in the season, because I think Frank de Boer will be stubborn, I think we're going to be left very frustrated Thursday night and see our first trip to the CONCACAF Champions League cut unfortunately short. But it may very well prove to be a learning experience that we needed to have in order to be successful in the future. But I just don't have a good feeling about this one. I just don't. If it was in the bins, I'd feel better, but having to play at Fifth Third Bank, it's not our home field, and as loud as we'll get, I don't know if it'll really push us over the edge like I know Mercedes-Benz Stadium would.
Yeah. Well, I think, we've played a U.S. Open match there with the team. They are familiar with the stadium, so there is at least that caveat. So I'm a little bit more confident that we can at least, do a little bit better. I think we will need a Barco to break down a deep-lying team. Tito is not perfect here because, you need space behind. So
that's not going to exist.
Yeah, and so, it is a Barco and PT type of game where they just have to do some magic, and I think they can. My prediction is 3-1. That means...
Oh, no.
Yes, that means we get to penalties.
Oh, no.
Probably. And so that's where it's gonna be a long night probably. And I don't want this to happen. But
to be fair, since our last penalty shootout defeat, we have gotten a player who has made a penalty in the Copa Sudamericana final.
Yeah.
And Ezequiel Barco. You have Joseph Martinez, who, if that's the case, he better damn well be on the pitch still.
Yeah.
And you have PT Martinez, who again better damn well be on the pitch at that point in time. So I'd feel a little bit better.
Definitely.
But I really don't want to see penalties.
Yeah, I really don't. But I think it might come to this. We might be in for a long night at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. But I think we go through, and I'm gonna get really specific, oddly. And we go 4-3 in penalties and win.
Okay, well, that's oddly specific. But being oddly specific, guys, it is now time for our question of the day. And it's kind of simple. There's only one thing we really have to ask. And that is, what do you guys think is going to happen in the second leg against Herediano on Thursday? Hit us up in the comments below and let us know what you guys think.
But guys, that's it for us today. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, smash that like button, and share this video because it really does help us a lot, and I have enjoyed being back in the A. Anyway, for Tanner McLeod, I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching.